Most people never question the ideas they were raised with. They cling to them, defend them, live by them, without ever asking, who gave me these beliefs? And why? You were taught to trust the system. You were taught that obedience was sacred. You were taught that questioning was dangerous. But what if the truth doesn't fear questions? What if real awakening begins, not when you believe more, but when you finally have the courage to stop believing what isn't true? This is the moment that changes everything. This is how you break free from religious conditioning. Subscribe to the true God. Here, we speak from enlightenment, not opinion. We reveal what the world has missed for centuries. This is not about what humans believe about God. This is about the God who exists, with or without belief. Let's go deeper. Religious conditioning is not the voice of God. Let's be clear. Religious conditioning has nothing to do with your connection to the divine. It's not spiritual awakening. It's psychological programming. It is the silent voice in your head that tells you you'll be punished if you think for yourself. It is the unease you feel when your heart says one thing, but your religious upbringing says another. It is the deep, invisible wiring that shapes your emotions, your decisions, and your very identity, all while convincing you it's God's will. But this programming is not God. It's human. It was created by systems, by institutions, by centuries of tradition passed down without examination. And most of all, it was built on fear. Fear of hell, fear of being wrong, fear of being rejected, fear of divine judgment. But fear is not truth. Fear is not love. And fear is not God. Breaking free from this conditioning isn't rebellion. It's restoration. It's not turning your back on God. It's finally turning toward what's real. The 6 strategies to break free from religious conditioning. 1. Recognize the signs of programming. Before you can escape the conditioning, you must become conscious of it. It often begins in childhood when beliefs are handed to you, not as options, but as facts. You're told, this is what God says. And your mind, still soft and trusting, absorbs that message before it ever learns how to question it. Over time, your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are shaped by this programming. It becomes part of your identity. To break free, you have to start noticing. Watch your reactions when your beliefs are challenged. Do you feel fear? Guilt? Anger? Do you instantly defend your faith without truly hearing the question? These are not signs of truth. These are signs of conditioning. Awareness is the first crack in the wall. 2. Separate God from religion. This is where most people stay trapped. They assume that leaving religion means leaving God. But religion is not God. Religion is a man-made structure built around interpretations, rituals, and rules, most of which contradict each other depending on where and when you were born. When you equate religion with God, you give your power away to an institution. But when you separate them, you remember something deeper. God was never owned by a religion. God is not Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or anything else humans invented. God is the living presence behind all of existence, the infinite source that no book or sermon can fully contain. The moment you realize that, the fear of leaving religion dissolves. You're not walking away from God. You're walking toward God, finally. 3. Reclaim the power of sacred questioning. You were told that doubt is dangerous, that questioning your beliefs is a slippery slope. But why would truth be afraid of questions? Only falsehood needs to hide behind fear. Truth stands tall, no matter what you ask of it. So question everything, not with anger, but with clarity. Ask, where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me holding it? What happens if I let it go? Every sincere question you ask is a step toward freedom. Questioning is not betrayal. It is devotion to truth. And when you stop being afraid to question what you were taught, you start discovering what was always real. 4. Listen to the still voice of direct experience. Religion often teaches you to obey someone else's voice. A preacher, a scripture, a tradition, a group consensus. But the real God doesn't speak through borrowed words. The real God speaks in stillness, in presence, in the direct experience of now. When you silence the noise of external authority, something ancient and alive begins to whisper within you. It is not fear-based. It is not manipulative. It does not demand obedience or punishment. It simply is. You've felt it before, in moments of wonder, in moments of peace, in moments where time seemed to vanish and only presence remained. That is not imagination. That is real. And it is waiting for you to return, not to a religion, but to yourself. 5. Face and dissolve the guilt. As you begin to break free, guilt will rise. You'll feel like you're betraying your family, your community, your upbringing, even God. But that guilt is not a sign you're wrong. It's a sign you were trained to equate freedom with sin. So don't run from it. Don't suppress it. Look at it directly. Ask where it's really coming from. Is it flowing from divine love or from human fear? You'll see that it's the echo of old programming, not the voice of truth. When you face guilt with awareness and compassion, it melts. It stops controlling you. And in its place, something deeper awakens, self-respect. You realize you were never guilty. You were just taught to feel guilty for being free. But now you remember, freedom isn't sin. Freedom is sacred. 6. Trust what remains after the collapse. As old beliefs begin to fall away, you may feel lost. But don't be afraid. The collapse is not the end. It is the beginning. When false certainty disappears, what remains is real clarity. When blind faith dies, true knowing begins to emerge. What remains after religious conditioning is not emptiness. It is spaciousness, aliveness, presence. It is God unfiltered. You begin to realize the truth was never found in belief. It was found in being. The more you let go, the more you see clearly. And what you see is this: God does not demand belief. God is. The system was the finger, not the moon. The religions of the world were supposed to point beyond themselves. But somewhere along the way, people began worshiping the pointer instead of the destination. They memorized the verses and forgot the experience. They built temples and lost the presence. They mistook the metaphor for the message. But now, you are waking up. Religion was a tool, a shell, a temporary structure. It served its time, but it is not the truth itself. The real God cannot be owned, caged, or claimed. The real God is what's left when all conditioning falls away. And it has always been with you. You were never a prisoner. You were the key all along. So here you are. Not broken, not lost, not condemned. Awakening. You've walked through the fire of fear. You've questioned what others feared to question. You've begun to see the difference between belief and truth. Religious conditioning was never your fault, but your freedom is your responsibility. You were not created to obey a system. You were created to be fully, consciously, fearlessly. The real God is not somewhere else. The real God is here, not as an idea, but as the living truth behind your awareness. You are not a sinner searching for salvation. You are not a rebel running from righteousness. You are the key, and the door has always been open. Subscribe to the true God. We don't preach. We reveal. We don't follow beliefs. We follow truth. Not religion. Not theory. Reality.